Hello, bonjour, namaste, ni hao, and ohio, everybody. What is going on? It is Galeriot here, and welcome back to the YouTube channel once again for another Danmachi Fulland of Water and Light video. And today, we are here to take a look at your guys' thoughts on the game and do a bit of a community reaction, see what you guys had to say about the first reveal of Fulland of Water and Light in terms of its gameplay and its mechanics as well, and of course, the fact that it is getting a PC and English release as well. Of course, it's been a few days since that reveal happened, and I've had more time to gather my thoughts as well, so I'm gonna break down some of the things I've been thinking about this game since then, of course, because remember when I made this video specifically, right, the PC and English release confirmed and all, I was barely awake. I woke up at like 4:15, quarter past 4 effectively in the morning, about to go to work, and I see this drop and I was like, okay, I gotta make a video immediately, talk about it, make it a short video, but a video covering all the details that we know so far. And so I had very little time to actually process the entire game, so I want to give you guys my thoughts now, a couple of days later, having had a bit of time to kind of gather everything in my head. And I want to more importantly see what you guys have to say, because I feel like I want to see what the general community's reaction is. Of course, my community is a very small community, so we're also going to be taking a look at the Danmachi Reddit as well, see if they've had to say anything, of course, right? I feel like the Danmachi Reddit's probably not as active at the moment because obviously the anime is a couple of weeks away still, but I want to see if there's been any mention of anything in there as well. Now, of course, if you guys go on to enjoy this video, remember to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, all that sort of good stuff, and let me know in the comment section down below if you have any other suggestions or thoughts in regards to Fulland of Water and Light, something that they maybe can adopt in the future when it comes to this game, potentially in terms of either DLC or future updates in terms of making the game better. Obviously, y'all can let me know in the comment section down below based on what little we know, of course, so far, and let me know if some gameplay mechanics that you guys would like to see in the game as well. Now, the first time we saw the game reveal in front of our eyes, of course, on, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, I can't remember the exact day now, but when we got the game for the very first time on our screens and I got a chance to see the gameplay, my first thoughts were, frick, it's not an open world game or an open area game. What I mean by open area means like I'm talking about something like Legends Arceus, where it's not a fully open world game, but you could choose maps and areas basically, and you can explore that area, right? Or something like Xenoblade kind of as well. So I thought it would be something like that at the very least, right? But that was me getting my expectations up a little bit too much at that point, to be honest, in terms of what I was expecting from the gameplay as well, in that sense, because they never mentioned what type of game it was going to be. It was just my inference that I thought an action RPG equals open world, right? Xenoblade, Pokemon Legends Arceus, and so on and so forth. So that is on me for just assuming it'll be an open world or an open area game, guaranteed. Now, that being said though, a platformer slash side-scrolling game is not a bad thing whatsoever. I may have come across as feeling that way on day one, but in reality, I do think it's a very positive thing as well at the same time, because there are some seriously good platformer slash side-scroller games, We take a look at all the plethora of Mario titles, Sonic titles, Prince of Persia, Metroid, you have, of course, the likes of course, Mega Man, there's so many those types of games out there that have done exceptionally well in that genre. And so for me personally, I have faith that this game can also do extremely well. I mean, one of the games that people are waiting for so long is of course Hollow Knight's sequel, Silk Song, and those two games are side-scroller games as well. So even if like Danmachi Fulland of Water and Light can do something even close to that and actually give us a good gameplay experience, I think it'll be fantastic. Now, I know that there will be people out there who will be like, well, that's not for me, and of course this game won't be for everybody, and I think that's where my problem comes in a little bit. I feel for Danmachi Fulland of Water and Light is I feel like because it's a platformer slash side-scroller game, it may not be for everybody, and I think that might end up becoming a little bit of a drawback for this game. But I think at the same time, if you are willing to give it a shot, and I think if the gameplay experience is great, I think it's a great opportunity for people to try it out at least and see how they feel about it, because even I will say this, I'm not a big side-scroller guy. I think the side-scrolling genre itself is probably quite low for me personally, but I'm still willing to give it a shot because obviously I'm a content creator, and two, I'm a big Danmachi fan, but it's also, there's no worry about me trying to try something different, you know. There's no I should not have any regrets or, you know, disappointments of like, oh, I didn't get to try this because it's this genre. No, I should try it because it'll be something new, something fresh. It'll be a brand new experience for me after a very, very long time, to be honest. I've not played a side scroller game since probably the early 2010s, I think. Actually, no, Sonic Mania. Sorry, Sonic Mania. I forgot. Sorry. I was like, have I not played a side scroller game in like since the early 2010s? No, I did play Sonic Mania. That's, I guess, the last one I've played. But before that as well, I don't think I played one in a very, very long time. I think the DS Mario Bros. DS Mario Bros. Titles were the last time I've done something there. So I have some faith on that front that it'll do well. I feel like it'll do well. But what I also hope is that they are still able to incorporate the Danmachi elements, you know, stuff like being able to explore a little bit, you know, having the map be, or the levels of the game be in a way where it's explorable. There's advantages for you to go and explore, stuff like that. I think you have to still hold the you know, internal values of Danmachi really well in the game. This is what Danmimo did exceptionally well. This is where I feel Danfru is lacking massively in, I feel. But if you're able to do that, I think you can have a really good game. Infinite combat, yes, I know we rag on the game quite a bit, and it has a lot less depth than what Fulland of Water and Light is looking like it's gonna have. But it held the internal values of Danmachi really well with the way the system worked, the skill sheets, the equipment, the way the drops worked and everything. I think it was exceptionally well handled in that front. Let down by the graphics, of course, and the gameplay. I want a Danmachi game that actually is good in all avenues. And if they can provide us with, you know, all of those things in this game, I will be absolutely fine with it. But yeah, that's my thoughts right now, you know. A couple of days later, sorry about that. My throat is not really feeling amazing right now for some reason. I'm gonna need to have a lot of water right now. But yeah, I have no water right now, unfortunately. But coming back to my point is, it's still early days. I want to give them the opportunity to show us like what they can do with this game. And I mean, so far, based on the combat mechanics that they've showed off so far, it looks like there's going to be some depth there. I'm looking forward to seeing how the leveling system works. We know that there's something to do with the Sword of Fulland level, basically, that there's something there basically. And one thing that I actually didn't notice, if I go over to Twitter and open up Danmachi Fulland of Water and Light, and we go over to their poster, right? I didn't even notice this, but both Bell and Eyes have a new weapon, the Ultramarine Sword that we've been seeing them talk about. And of course, what helps Bell in Underwater Aurora is he's wearing Undine's clothes, so it works really well. It does work extremely well on that front. Anyways, let's take a look at your guys' responses now to my video, and I want to see what your guys' thoughts are. I've avoided looking at the comments section of this video because I wanted to see what you guys have to say about this game, and I wanted to see, you know, if there's anything interesting that maybe I didn't think about, or if there's any concerns you guys may have in regards to this game. So let's take a look at your guys' comment section first, and then we'll go over to the Reddit. So Turkey Pear has the most liked comment here. It's better if they succeed in a small amount than to fail massively. I'm looking forward to this game. I think that is a fair point and a fair way to look at it. I mean, if you look at very recent titles, right? I've been following a lot of games recently, right? I'm a big gamer, by the way. I'm not like just a big fan of Danmachi only, and that's why I'm playing these games. No, I'm a big gamer. I play a lot of different games, and I keep an eye out on the gaming industry heavily so. But if you look at the failures of like Concord, you know, $100 million, 8 years of you know, dev time, and it's shut down after 11 days. You look at Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown, 5-6 years of development effectively, multiple delays, and it's still launched with always online, and its servers are shitting itself. It's a good game, but what good is a game if you can't even get onto the game because you need to be connected to the internet always? Obviously, a lot of gacha games handle this really well, you could argue, but even they have connectivity issues more often than not as well. And so that is a disaster show. But then you have some amazing experiences, a very simple platformer game, another platformer game doing exceptionally well in the industry. Astro Boy, right? Yeah, no, Astro Boy. Such a good game, right? Such a good game. I've been watching videos on it. I don't have a PS5, so I can't play it, but I've been watching videos on it and stuff, and it looks so beautiful, so it's beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. So much love devoted to it. It looks like it's fantastic. It's a perfect love letter to gaming, in all honesty. it is a great game. So that is so these are the things that you need in a game. You need, even if it is a smaller game, even if it is a very basic game at its core, if it's a platform or side scroller, if there's love devoted to it and the team is dedicated to making a good game, I think that's more than enough. And if you're gonna go small scale as well, you're not gonna work on, having to deal with multiple NPCs or world environments and all that sort of stuff in a 3D world, right? And that is another thing to keep in mind. A 3D world is so much harder to generate than what is a simple 2.5D world. I think that is something to acknowledge as well. They've probably been able to get a lot more dev time on, a lot more time to perfect it as well. So again, I want to see how well they do, but I agree with Turkey Pair. That is true. I would rather they do well with what they've got, even if it may not be to everybody's appeal and it may not be the biggest game on the planet in terms of like, open world and NPCs and all that sort of stuff and, XYZ system and all. As long as it does the gameplay experience extremely well, is able to provide a fun experience as well, I think that's the most important thing, in all honesty. And I even say that is true. I immediately replied, that is true as well. He's not wrong. I absolutely agree with that. 619 says, reminds me of those old 3DS days where I used to play those lovely 2D games I enjoyed. No, absolutely. It is very old school in a way. But platforming and side-scrolling, I feel like gets this very bad stick of it being a retro style of game, which is not true because there are so many modern day games. Like Celeste is a great side scroller. You have, like I said, Hollow Knight, amazing game, right? From what I've heard, I've not played it personally, but I've heard it's an amazing game. You have Mega Man, Prince Persia, Mario, Sonic, so on and so forth. You have a plethora of side scrollers that are so amazing. Scuba Thomas says, honestly, this is a game that I didn't know I wanted. Open world 3D person would have made for a serious play vibe, but this one gives us a fun play vibe. I'm all for it so far. That's fair. That's a fair way to look at it as well. I think an open world 3D game would have been a lot more intensive as well. I think this sort of a game will also be a little bit more fun to play with in terms of, it may not take as much of your time away. It's not gonna, push you to do some random fetch quests or something, right? Because then at the end of the day, as much as I love open world games, I feel like there are a lot of open world games that fall into the same sort of mistake every single time. Like there's a lot of these types of games that fall into the same mistake of like, oh, same type of world quests and so on and so forth, or have a very barren open world as well. Now, obviously the other problem was that the setting in itself wouldn't have worked for an open world game. An underwater Orario, I mean, Bell underwater combat wise, it would have been very tricky. So I think I'm okay with the fact that it is a side scroller and it is something different as well, I hope this Danmachi game adds something new to the side-scroller genre. I think it would be nice to get something unique to the genre, absolutely. I think if they manage to conjure up something interesting and fun, it'll be definitely something I'll be looking for. Vladim says, I'm a big side-scroller fan, so I'm all in. Good to see that. I could work with this. This can be fun. TK867 says. Space Fire Lord says, a Metroidvania is fine if it works. If this succeeds, it might make for a bigger action RPG in the future. One of the better Souls-like was actually a Metroidvania game called Assault and Sanctuary. I actually didn't know that. Also, Japan does know quite well how to make anime side-scrollers. Just look at Record of Lodoss War with the Deedlit in Wonder Labyrinth, or Overload with Escape from Nazarick. I know about the latter, I didn't know about the former. We actually talked about this in my live stream as well. He mentioned it again in my live stream, and we know Japan can make amazing side-scrollers. We've known the Sonic, Mario, Mega Man, so on and so forth, right? There's a lot of stuff there. Gabrielle says it's like Mario Wonder. No need for a big area to explore for a game to be fun to play. If it's retro like Double Dragon. I played it at my grandmother's when I was little, and the fights seem really fun. Just a shame that many great games aren't translated into French, but being a big fan of Danmachi, it won't stop me from buying it. I read English well enough to understand, eagerly awaiting release date. Yeah, the thing is, right, with these games, and I think this is a very common complaint people have, right? There are two complaints I feel like people have when it comes to anime games in general. One, the lack of translations. Two, the lack of actually proper translations for the subtitles from JP to English. This has been exemplified by Dragon Ball Sparking Zero recently, where I think there's an interaction between Trunks and Vegeta, and Trunks says no cap, but in Japanese he says, really? Will you? And it's like, well, there's clearly two different descriptions of what he's trying to say, right? Kid Trunks, that is. Adult Trunks is not saying no cap. I don't think Future Trunks is gonna say no cap. I'm talking about Kid Trunks. So I think the problem is, right, you have to realize these studios have a set budget and you can't blow your budget on translations. As much as I hate to admit it, honestly, I think the best thing to do for a game is make sure it's at least in two languages at the very minimum, English and Japanese, to be honest. Because Japan, for one, is a huge country for gaming, and I think it's a mistake that a lot of developers make when they don't release a game in Japanese. Number two, English is one of the most spoken languages in the world. It is, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if it is the most spoken language in the world. Let me just check that. It is, okay, it is still the most spoken language in the world. I wasn't sure about Mandarin or potentially another language like Spanish or something. Actually, what is the third one? Third is Hindi. Okay, third is Hindi, fourth is Spanish, and fifth is French. Okay, I knew Spanish was somewhere in the mix there, but I wasn't sure where. But yeah, it's kind of just unfortunate, but you have to kind of go for, one of those. You have to go for a big language and then go for a secondary language where basically it's going to be most popular in. And of course, especially for Danmachi, I mean, of course, it makes sense. Japanese and English is the one to go for, right? But I agree. I think it would be amazing to obviously get French voiceovers, or maybe not even French voiceovers, but even French subtitles or French text, right? I think that would be amazing as well. You're basically, negating a lot of the studios, but hopefully, maybe fingers crossed, right? There may be some people who are willing to mod the game to have these languages. A lot of times there are people out there willing to mod these games to have extra languages and stuff and change the language to other languages as well. And I assume the text file for this is not going to be hard to obtain and stuff and to alter, right? So fingers crossed. If the developers can't do it, of course, we see maybe in the future we get some modders and stuff, people in the community who are willing to do it. I hope that there will be somebody there. K1 says, looks interesting. I'm excited, honestly. I grew up with Metroid and like the near automata input on it. Looking forward to anything that's not a simple visual novel. I agree. I think it's good that we're not just getting another visual novel. I mean, we knew it wasn't going to be because it was an action RPG, but I'm glad that it's also something there, basically. Caught on the Road, or Sammy, I think this is, it says, let's focus on the positives. That'll be on Steam in English first. Helps more people try it. Absolutely. I think Steam, for me, it being only on the Switch was kind of a bummer in a way, but not a major bummer because obviously the Switch is the most popular console at this moment in time. If not for the last 7-8 years, I feel it's been the most popular console by a mile. Ever since its release, even, I would say. But having another platform, at least like PC or PlayStation, I think would have been super important as well, because there's just such an audience there as well, right? So I think that's fantastic. And in English as well, I think that again helps the global audience a little bit more as well, rather than being just restricted to the Japanese audience. It's now obviously accessible by people outside of Japan as well, very, very easily. So I think that was very important. Amori's writing the whole thing. Yeah, Amori's writing the whole thing, so the story is going to be fantastic. He says he hopes that he treats it at least with the same importance as the Danmachi Memoria Freese. I think, yeah, he will. I really want to like this game. Honestly, story will be where my hopes lie. Now on to the worst part. I cannot hide my disappointment in the gameplay, not just the combat itself, but this pretty much rules out some of the possibility of real exploration. Yes and no. If you're talking about real exploration, as in like going to like each street of Orario and stuff, yeah, that's not gonna happen. And to be honest, I wouldn't have expected that to happen anyways. You have to remember, Bushiroad was a small publisher and developer anyways. And most I was expecting like mini areas that we could maybe navigate a little bit in. Obviously, effectively what I was thinking was it would be like Dawn Crow's levels, but a little bit more explorable is what I was thinking of as when we got the information that this was going to be an action RPG. And I thought it was going to be an open area one. But yeah, now do not get me wrong, I share the sentiment that many people love side scrolls and there are some great ones praised as masterpieces of games, but I think this will not help the popularity of the game, especially with the fact that it is a game only for Danmachi fans. Therefore, the chance of exposure is diminishing even more with this niche sort of gameplay. Yes and no, I think, for the same time. So for one, I think if they release it at the right time, which is of course during season 5 in my opinion, that is the best time to release it. You're gonna see people obviously being like, hang on a second, there's this anime airing and there's a game coming out, let's take a look at it. And number two, I think you're really underestimating how many people love side scrollers, to be honest. Like I was expecting a little bit more negative opinion, honestly, in terms of the gameplay side of things, but I think I only had like 3 or 4 comments saying that they hate side scrollers or can't stand side scrollers out of the 18 or 20 comments we've gotten so far, right? And on top of that as well, just generally speaking as well, I feel like you see the sheer popularity. I mean, you've said it yourself, the masterpieces and the popularity. You look at the sheer popularity of Hollow Knight and Silksong. I mean, you see consistently on Switch live streams, Silksong, where's Silksong, where's Silksong, and it's not even in just Switch streams, but in PlayStation, Xbox streams, and so on and so forth. Summer Games Fest, Silksong, where, to the point where even people like Jeff Keighley, whenever before they're even hosting the presentation, they're like, no Silksong info is present. There is a huge amount of popularity for platformers and side scrollers, Mario, Mega Man, Metroid, so on and so forth. I think you're not wrong as well, that I do think if you're looking at it from a more generic perspective, sure, I think an open world game or open area game or 3D, more three-dimensional, omnidirectional game probably could have worked more for Danmachi. But even in that situation, I would have said the same thing exactly. You are probably not going to seem your point was still worked in that situation potentially as well, is that mainly the Danmachi fans would have probably played that game, because what is it offering that maybe a Zelda isn't offering, or a Genshin isn't offering, or any XYZ game isn't offering, right? And especially because the development time and costs would have been more for that, potentially would have also been a more expensive game. I think that this game is probably going to be only like $30, $40 at most. At most, I'm saying. If you had put in that money into a 3D open world, more development time, more work required for the engineering side of things and everything, or the coding side of things and all, you would have had probably a lot more there. A lot more cost there, and I don't want to pay a $70 game for what could have been potentially a disaster show if you're being honest with ourselves in terms of a full-on open world game. I'm talking about this being a full-on open world game. If it was an open area game, I still think it would have been probably cost full price, to be honest. $60 maybe, if you're being generous to them. So it's a hard one. It's a very hard one. I get what you're saying, but I think it being a platformer, it being also a potentially lower cost game, let's be real, I think it will be a lower cost game just because of the way it is. And also it being still an accessible game for people, especially during this season, will be fine, I think. I think we'll be fine. I really hope it'll have depth and fun aspects. I think it will. I mean, we know that it has depth to its combat already. Question is in terms of, the sword level, the way the RPG works, how is there going to be any more mechanics as well attached to a potential skill tree as well. That'll be very interesting to see. We know there's 2 playable characters, so Ice and Bell will probably have different styles of gameplay as well. We know that their special moves work differently as well. Assists will also come into play, so how will the assists work as well? So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Of course, like you said, it's too early on, right? We don't have a release date yet. It's very few shots given to us, so we have very little information, but we do have information about what the gameplay is looking like, at least in terms of some of the mechanics and stuff. I have no opinion so far, honestly. Just for PC and Switch, I'm playing on mobile or PS5. Sad for me. Yeah, that again, as I said, I think that is kind of a disappointment. I do hope that they manage to get it on PlayStation, at least in my opinion. I think Switch, PlayStation, PC should be the standard for every, game, in all honesty, because let's be real, Xbox is kind of a lost cause at this point, the console itself. So yeah, definitely not buying. I hate platformers. I'd say give it a shot. I mean, or I would say just watch videos, see how you feel about it when the game releases, and then go from there, because not every platformer is the exact same. And I agree, maybe you don't like it, that's absolutely fine. I understand that, but I would say just give it a shot if you enjoy it once you watch videos and stuff. You don't have to, of course, buy it yourself and then try it and then be like, okay, no. Well, you could still buy it and potentially refund it within 2 hours. Remember that Steam does this thing where you can buy the game, play for 2 hours, or play under 2 hours, and then refund it if you didn't enjoy it. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Okay? Alright. Now I'm just playing for the story at this point, because the previous game on Switch got better gameplay. Hell no. Hell no. I even replied to him saying this, because I saw this. This was one of the first comments I saw. I disagree with that, man. the Infinite Combat had probably some of the worst gameplay I've seen, in all honesty. Well, worst is a bit of a harsh way of saying it. It was so simple. It was just too simple, even, I would say. So personally, I disagree with that. I don't think this game has worse gameplay than Infinite Combat. Absolutely not. Better gameplay already, in my opinion. Just the fact that there's a actual counter mechanic, and along with that a proper special move system, I think it's better. I think it's better. All right, now let's take a look at the Reddit. I want to see what the Reddit has to say, if the Reddit has anything to add and stuff. I'm quite curious to see what the Reddit has to say. Sometimes the Reddit can have good opinions, sometimes it can have bad opinions. The Reddit's a very mixed bunch, I feel. The Reddit side is a very mixed bunch. If I were to guess right now, the game, so this is the person who posted it. It looks like a discount Hollow Knight, so honestly, I'm just praying that it can feel even 1% as good as that game was to play. Absolutely, I think it would be amazing if it's anywhere near as good as Hollow Knight, but we're gonna have to wait and see. Obviously very early days, but like, yeah, I think it's pretty cool that people are already, you know, aligning it with like games like Hollow Knight and stuff. But yeah, I was hoping for a game with similar gameplay to Battle Chronicle. This does look like a Metroidvania style game, and it really doesn't fit IMO. I mean, I can see that point as well, that it doesn't fit Danmachi exceptionally well in that sense. I can see that point, but at the same time, you can still make a platformer of any story. It's just about execution and how you're handling the combat side of things and the gameplay side of things and all that sort of stuff. I think it's still possible, but I get what you're saying. You know, the whole aspect of, I guess, Danmachi is exploration, dungeon exploration, along with, of course, you know, your mini bosses and stuff, of course, along the way. So I get that point, but I think you can still have it in a platformer style. But yeah, we'll have to take a look and see how they execute it. Kind of disappointment, at least with any Danmachi game. There's still the visual novel aspect to look forward to. Hoping it has an entertaining enough story, and who knows, the gameplay might still end up being fun. Exactly. We'll have to wait and see on the gameplay front. Of course, very few shots were given, but I think, you know, with the mechanics we have, with the small things we saw with the air combat and stuff, it looks like there's gonna be some stuff there for sure. It's just about execution more so than anything else. The OP goes on to add that he really enjoys Metroidvania titles, so if it is one, I'll attempt to go into this with an optimistic look. Is this a mobile? No, it's not a mobile game. As long as it's not a gacha, it's not a gacha, so that's good. Damn, I hate platform games, but for Danmachi, I'll try. So yeah, I think there is a mixed opinion in this sense, but yeah, I don't think I would play it because the gameplay requires. This is the first time I've seen anybody say this. I don't think I'd play it because the gameplay requires too much movement. So in the average game you don't move? Question mark? But yeah, speaking of movement, I missed Danmachi Memoria Freese. That's not what I was expecting to read today. No, I feel... I don't know if that's a fair complaint, to be honest. That's a bit of a weird complaint. Metroidvania games are dope. And then one person says at the very bottom, I don't know if you guys can see it, they want a game with a VN dating sim. No, I'm good. I'm good on a VN dating sim. I don't need that in my life, man. I'll leave that to the rom-coms and stuff. I don't need that in Danmachi. In Danmachi, I want an actual combat-based game, to be honest, and the ability to level up, grow, and so on and so forth. But yeah, that's just my personal opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Of course, I want to see if you have any other thoughts and suggestions since then that you feel like you want to share. Feel free to do so. Once again, appreciate all of y'all for watching this video. I will see you guys in the next one. Until then, take it easy, everybody. Bye bye.